I thought I might go over this question here, which is question 10 from your eText. It's chapter 1, question 10. I'm just going to talk over it just so you understand, and you can understand how in finance we a lot of the time use the same equation. It's just how we apply it is a bit different. So I just wanted to walk through because this is quite a long question, but the calculations, once you move further throughout the unit, you'll actually understand are actually quite simplistic. So hopefully this will understand where all the figures are coming from. But anyway, let's get into it. So assume 2 period world, perfect certainty and perfect capital markets. So just on the 2 period model, you'll see a lot of graphs. It's important to understand how to read them, but you don't need to understand how to draw them, because you have to remember that it's likely that majority of the people will be sitting an online test, and I don't know how you're going to draw a graph in an online test situation. So don't stress too much about that. It's just this kind of theory that we need to understand. So your business has initial endowment of 500K. So basically that's the cash that we have available to spend. And the following investments opportunities are available. So we've got these 5 different investment opportunities. This is the outlay amount. So this is the cost to invest in that. Period 2 returns. This is basically the dividend we're going to get. And over here is internal rate of return, which you'll actually see when we answer these questions. We actually don't need this information. So then it says, the projects are not divisible, so you can't use a fraction, you have to use the project in totality, and you must invest 100% of each proposal. Okay, so you just, if you're choosing project 1, you have to invest 100K, you can't do 50% of that. Assume that the market rate of interest is 17%. So in our formula for PV, which you'll see us using, that is the rate we do use, 17%. So we've got 500K. Let's look at question number A. So look, it's quite a long question with multiple parts, but you'll see it's actually not too tricky. It's just very step process. So if management does not want to raise any additional funds, we then work through this. So which project will they undertake? Projects, so that's important. See, the S is important. We're not just choosing one project, we're choosing a multiple of them. So we've got a maximum amount of 500 to spend. So we've got to figure out what groups of things can we do to reach 500 or under. So we could do 1 and 2, we can't do 2 and 3 because that pushes us over. We could do 1 and 5. So you just need to figure out what's under 500K or spot on. So as I said, I'm just going to talk through this. So in our modules, so you can see for week 1, module 1.5, where our self-study questions are, we've actually got the solutions here. So that makes life a huge amount easier. And I always find we learn the most from the solutions. So let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger so we can all read it. So scroll down 5, here we go. So let me just move everything around so we can read everything. Okay, so this is our question over here. Question over here, and here are our answers. So what we've got here is we've got 5 different combinations we can do, and this is our outlay. So how much we would have to spend, and as again, we can't go over that 500K limit. It can be under. So this is answering question A, AI. So we've got that 500K max. It's saying which projects, so we're grouping them together to try and reach that 500K. So that's our outlay amount for the investments. Now, period 1 dividend, that is, so when we outlay, now we're looking at, okay, at this point in time, what can we return back to investors? So if we've got a pool of 500K and say, let's look at 1 and 2, our outlay is just 450. So if we go back to the question, 100 plus 350 is 450. That means of 500, we've got minus 450, we've got that $50,000 left over. So of that pool of $500,000, we've got $50,000 left that we can pay out to investors. Okay, so that's what this period 1 dividend is. And it's period 1. So if we're thinking about net PV, we don't need to do that calculation because it's in today's value already. When we do need to do those PV calculations, it's when it's in that future value. So period 2 then, this is obviously the next period over. So if we were to calculate our PV, which we obviously are, we do need to do that PV calculation, which is PV equals future value over 1 plus the rate and then square root to the number of periods. So period 2 is the sum of these period 2 returns. So if we go 1 and 2, we're adding up 145 and 420. So we add that up, we get 565 right there. Okay, and that's the same if we go 1 and 3, so 145 plus 270, we're going to get 415. Okay, so that's those 3 columns. So we're just grouping it up, we're figuring out what are our dividends we can get from the combination of investments. Now, what we need to do in order to choose which projects will we undertake, we want ones that are going to give us the highest firm value, right? So that's what we need to do now to calculate our firm value. Okay, so how on earth do we do that? We calculate it with our present value. So as I mentioned before, our period 2 dividend, we will need to calculate and bring it back to present value. And then our period 1 dividend, we don't need to do that because we're already in today's currency. So if we were to do 1 and 2, we need to go, there's nothing I can really write on here, but just visualize with my words. So we go our period 2 dividend of 565 over 1 plus the rate of 17%, which is set over here. It's our market interest rate, to the power of 2. So we don't really need to put in that power. No, so we don't, it's not to the power of 2 because it's only 1 period in front of us. Just by dividing the rate, we're already bringing it down 1 period. So what is it? It's 565 over 1 plus 0.17, and that's our formula. So 565 over 1.17, divide by 1.17, which is going to get you, I haven't got a calculator in front of me, but calculate that and then add on that 50 grand there, then you're going to get the firm value of 532,960. Okay, so that's our firm value. Then to get our NPV, what we need to do is minus by our 500K, and that's going to get our NPV there. All right, so we've got, here are all our NPVs. Okay, so looking at that, which is our best performing one, obviously 1 and 3, so that's our answer for I. Okay, and then of that one we've chosen, how much of the initial endowment will they spend? So what is our outlay? 1 and 3 outlay, 300,000. So that's why this table is really good, because all of a sudden we can then answer these 5 questions just using our table. Okay, question number 3. What period 1 dividend will be paid to shareholders? So what, if we've got that 500K and we only spent 300 to it, that means there's 200 left over to be paid. Okay, then what's the period 2 dividend? Okay, period 2 dividend, over here we look at our little table, 415. So 415. Okay, so it's saying what is the value of the firm under the choice we've chosen, and again we've got it in our little table there, 554,700. That's our firm value calculation. Okay, all right, next thing here, if management only allows 1 new project to be accepted, so this is really important where reading the questions are very important in how you answer it. So it's just 1 project to be accepted. Which project would you recommend? So what we need to do is basically do this table that we did for our combinations, but we do it individually per project. So this has done it for us here. And it's not talking about that 500,000 endowment. So we've just got this here. So we've got our outlay, our period 2 return. So if we look at 1, we've got 100, 145. PV of that return, which is 123, and our net present value for each project's 23,000, and then so on and so forth. So these last 2, 4, and 5 are negatives. I would not want to touch that at all. Our best NPV right now, just looking at this, is number 3. Okay, and then we're looking at what the firm value is. So remember, we've got that 500k. So what's our remainders? So if we're looking at 3, which is obviously our winner, we've got our highest NPV. Our additional remaining cash is 300, so our firm value is 530. And that's, if we look here, that's our highest. So that's going to be our project that we would accept if we could only accept one. Okay. So number 3, if the capital rationing restrictions were removed, so that means we don't have that 500k limitation, what projects would the firm undertake? So back at this table here, remember I said projects 4 and 5 are giving us negative NPVs. We're not going to want to touch those. We don't want to lose money. So we reduce those. And then the ones we're going to want to do are 1, 2, and 3. So we can see here, this is the table again, down here, 1, 2, and 3. And they're the projects we're going to choose. So that is answering I. If we go over here, what's the total funds required for your selection? So we go 100 plus 350 plus 200 is 650. That's our investment. Then number 3, is it necessary to borrow any funds? If so, how much would the firm need? So we know we've got 500k cash, but the funds required for those 3 projects is 650. So that means, where's that money going to come from? It's going to come from a bank loan, and it's going to be the difference of that, which is 150,000. So hopefully what you can see when I'm talking through this is, so far we've really only had one complex calculation, which is our PV calculation, but we're just following very logical steps to answer these questions. Okay. Where are we up to? We are up to IV. So what is the period 1 dividend and period 2 dividend? Okay, so let's have a look here. I'm losing my mind. Okay, so if they borrow exactly 150k, then there are no funds for period 1, okay? Because remember, period 1 was whatever's left over from that 500,000. But right now with projects 1, 2, and 3, we've far exceeded that budget. So we've got nothing spare to give our investors. So that's why it is nil, 0. Period 2. So here is our period 2. If we go 145 plus 420 plus 270 is going to equal our 835. But remember, we've taken that loan out and we've got to pay that back. And that loan has got interest of it. We're using our market rate of 17%, so we need to adjust for that, increase our loan by that amount. So we're getting 175. So what do we have available for shareholders? We go that 835 minus the 175, 500. So that means we've got 659, 500 available to provide to our investors, okay? All right, number V, what is the value of the firm? So down here, again, if we remember our calculations from part A, we can then do that. So it is the PV of our dividends for period 1 and dividend for period 2. So basically all we really need to do is calculate the PV for that there. So remember, PV equals FV over 1 plus the rate squared whatever the periods is, but again, we're just bringing it down by 1, so we don't need to square it. So there we go, we've got that here, and we've got 563, 675. So that is our firm value at that point in time. Okay, has the firm's value increased over the value under budget restraints above? So basically what we need to do is, are we getting a better return by doing projects 1, 2, and 3 with that loan of 150k in comparison to projects just 1 and 2? So what we need to do is look at our firm value. We scroll up, firm value here for projects 1 and 2 is 554. Scroll down, what was our projects here? 563. So yeah, we want to go with 1, 2, and 3 and take out that loan. Okay, D. What could the firm do if it wanted to pay a dividend of 100,000? So in period 1, if they want to take out 100 grand, where's that money going to come from? Unless they go and do some equity raise or something like that, the easiest way is a loan. They're going to have to borrow it. So that means now we're probably going to get $250,000 loan in totality. So if we're looking at that, if we're going to proceed with that, what's the dividend to loan going to be? So we scroll up here, we get our information. Hang on, let me start back here. So here, the period 2 dividend will be the same as before, less the second lot of borrowings. So 100,000, increase it by the rate, which is 117,000. So it is exactly the same as, where's our little calculation? This here, IV in C. Okay, so if we see that 659,500 minus 117 equals 542,500. Okay, so that's how we're getting that. Last one. Okay, what's the value of the firm if it pays the period 1 dividend? What does this tell you about the effect of the dividend payment on the firm? Okay, so we've got here, so we're basically recalculating the firm value. So we have a look at this one here. Our period 1 is 100 grand that we've got here. Our period 2 dividend right here, and then we have to calculate the PV of that, add it together, is 563. Now let's have a look. What is it? 56375. So it hasn't changed anything. So does it change anything? Not really. It's the same as if they didn't pay the dividend. So I guess, do they do it or not? I think it'd be based on how happy it would make the shareholders. But hopefully that was a very casual overview of this question. Sometimes I would actually write it out with you, but I think this one's just best as an explanation. But hopefully that helps anyone that was unsure.